When you can't make it to City Hall or the school board meetings, local journalists from duluthnewstribune.com will be there to report the facts and get your questions answered. Local news works for you. Stay up to date at duluthnewstribune.com.
Hello, Northlanders. It's Thursday, March 30th. I'm Wyatt Buckner with the Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. Spirit Mountain Recreation Area's journey toward financial stability continued in 2022, according to Ann Glumock, Interim Executive Director. To help with difficulties during the pandemic, the Duluth City Council approved a $300,000 grant in September 2020. Spirit Mountain finished its fiscal year in April 2021 with an operating profit of about $344,000. The following fiscal year, Spirit improved on that performance, achieving more than $1 million in operating profit. Glumock said Spirit socked away $125,000 of that money, putting it towards its efforts to establish a $250,000 cash reserve, which she described as a savings account.
I never, ever want to come before you looking for additional dollars that weren't budgeted, and that's what that account is for, so that if we hit some bad weather or there's an equipment failure, something significant, we have a cushion that, in addition to our cash management and our expense management, we can turn to. We also are almost done fulfilling the terms of a loan agreement that the council passed, and this allowed Spirit to take a $1.2 million loan that had been on our books since 2014 and repay the city in two ways. One, to make three $100,000 cash payments to the city in each of the 3 years, and secondly, to invest in the public infrastructure, that is Spirit Mountain. And the plan was that we would invest about $300,000 per year. Well, we passed our target last calendar year, so all that we have left is the final payment that will be made in this calendar year. We'll still be investing in the capital infrastructure. It just won't be counted against that loan.
Under Glumock's leadership, Spirit Mountain has taken a much more conservative approach to budget forecasts. For the next fiscal year, which begins in May, she predicts an operating profit just shy of $20,000. The man accused of fatally shooting Richard Anthony Balsamo Jr. will be tried in Duluth this summer, 2 years after the victim's dismembered remains were pulled from Lake Superior. Judge Michael Kuzo on Tuesday ordered a change of venue for the trial of Jacob Colt Johnson, 37 of Superior. Johnson is the final remaining defendant of the three charged in connection with Balsamo's killing. Court documents indicate he fatally shot the St. Paul man in a moving car in the Twin Cities in June 2021 before transporting his body north to be dismembered on a rural Douglas County property and ultimately deposited into several bins off the shore of Grand Portage. The matter was complicated by the recent trial of a co-defendant, Robert Thomas West, who was found guilty in February of aiding an offender as an accomplice after the fact of second-degree murder and interference with a dead body. That trial, spanning multiple weeks, required summoning dozens of potential jurors to the Cook County Courthouse. Johnson's trial is scheduled for July 18th to August 4th, the height of the busy tourism season in the county of just 5,600. Under an amended criminal complaint filed in late February, Johnson is facing 2 counts of second-degree murder, intentional and unintentional. His attorneys have said they will argue he acted lawfully in self-defense and defense of others. A Duluth woman, Tommy Lynn Hintz, 32, pleaded guilty last June to aiding an offender and agreed to cooperate in the West and Johnson prosecutions. Johnson is being held at the Mille Lacs County Jail on $1.5 million bail. Sentencing hearings for both West and Hintz have been delayed until August after the completion of Johnson's trial. Dan Williamson joins us now with a special guest.
Thanks, Wyatt. I'm sitting here with one of our colleagues, Duluth News Tribune features reporter Melinda Levine. And Melinda, you're working on a story that we can see in Saturday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune, as well as online prior at duluthnewstribune.com. This story, we're noticing some interesting developments in the food and beverage industry in the Duluth area. If you can go into a little more detail than that.
Yeah, so Zeitgeist Restaurant and Bar, Vicra Distillery, and Blackwater Lounge are among a growing number of spots offering a non-alcoholic beverage menu with carefully curated options. For many Northland spots, offering NA bevs isn't new, but pivoting to a dedicated menu seems to be a post-shutdown trend. We heard from Duluth businesses and a city representative to hear about why these offerings add an inclusive and welcoming flair to our tourism industry.
Very interesting. What was your biggest takeaway from this?
My biggest takeaway was spending time with the small business owners and mixologists and just hearing about the thoughtfulness that they put into creating the dining experience for everyone.
And of course, some of these drinks, just the way they look, are very artistic, and obviously a lot of time and effort is put into them. What do you hope our audience takes away from your story?
I hope our audience takes away that, there's something for everyone here when they want to go out.
Well, Melinda, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
And again, you can find Melinda's article in Saturday's print edition of the Duluth News Tribune, as well as online prior at duluthnewstribune.com. Wyatt, back to you.
Thanks, Dan. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought to you by the News Tribune's Northlandia podcast.
Weather for the Duluth area today, looking at increasing clouds with temperatures in the mid-30s. Then mixed precipitation and snow moves in tonight, leading into a wintry precipitation for Friday with breezy conditions. Changing into snow later on into the afternoon, and then snow Friday night. Tapers off Saturday into mostly sunny skies, temperatures again in the mid-30s. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist Robert Pointer.
Thank you to the Northlandia podcast for their support. The weekly podcast explores curious and unique stories here in the Northland. Each episode celebrates the region's distinctive people, places, and history. In the latest episode of Northlandia, reporter Jimmy Lovren shows how a few feet of Wisconsin ended up on the Minnesota side of the St. Louis River. You can find that episode at duluthnewstribune.com or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Peter Passy, Tom Olson, and Melinda Levine. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.